Everybody, so this is another comparison between the blacks between an IPS. This is an LG IPS, brightness set to 80. Here also brightness set to 80, but this is without the dimming. All right, this is kind of off, dimming off. So this is the TCL. So you can see the blacks here. I try to adjust the lighting so I can actually, when I see it with my phone, is more or less how I see it with my own eyes. I think I can even lower it a bit more. You see, yeah, I think this is maybe, yeah, you see, maybe slightly, oh, I lost it. Yeah. So this is the TCL, and this is an IPS. This is a Fast-HVA. So you can see the blacks. It's not turned off. You can actually see the cursor. So this is an LG IPS. This is the TCL. So you can see the difference in black. This is a black screen web page. Specifically, it's called, well, you know, black something. You can, and yeah, this is black on the IPS. Brightness set to 80. Brightness set to 80. This is with dimming off. All right, so now we're going to change it to dimming. So we can see, go here, menu, and choose, let's put standard. All right, you can see because of the local dimming, this becomes less bright. If you go to local dimming, set it to the maximum, becomes slightly brighter. All right, so this is now with local dimming, black screen. This is the TCL. And compared again to the bars, it looks, again, where there's no information on the screen, right? It's just black. It looks really, really black, like super, super deep black, like almost indistinguishable between the borders and the screen itself, like dark, 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 all right, compared to the IPS, for example. Yeah, LG IPS. Don't remember the exact model. All right, it's not like that. The color there, it's just kind of the phone makes it like that. All right, so now we're gonna show you an image. All right, so this is another test. It's not perfect because it looks a bit brighter here, a bit less bright, but it's pretty close in terms of the gray at the bottom. The gray is just a part of the, you know, the image is not there. It's not just perfect 16:9. Sorry for that. So you can see the blacks here. This is on the TCL. All right, and you can see it'll be slightly blooming here around this area, but very, very light blooming when I see it. Well, it looks really nice. And now we're going to look at the IPS display. All right, so this is the IPS. Right, both of them are, just make sure the other one is 80% brightness. And this is also 80%. I mean, yeah, 80% brightness. This is the TCL, and this is the IPS. The IPS, even from what I see here, it's even brighter compared to what I see on the phone. This purple area is not colorful, just the phone produces it. So this is more or less the same what I see because I optimize the brightness for this image. But yeah, so if you can see now here on the side, this is how it looks like. It just changes colors when I move. I actually look the exposure, still it does whatever it does. But it looks like more or less like that. You see now the gray, that's something like that. Yeah, that's perfect. This is how it looks like in terms of gray. All right, so you can see the difference. Really good between the very, very dark gray, almost total black, and the grayish of the IPS. All right. Oh, this is the difference. This is the LG IPS, and this is the TCL. This is another comparison. Basically, what you see here is this is the UFO, test UFO. This is the TCL, so you can actually see the blacks here, the various whites. So areas here appear, depends, close to the area here. You can see very dark gray, but here is darker because there are not lots of lines here. So of course there's only 180 zones. So by the way, the area that is brighter is because of the phone. It's not like that actually when I'm viewing. So you can clearly see that, for example, this area is kind of more lit because there are lots of squares here. And here it's darker. It's darker in this area. This is surrounded. But overall, again, because of the panel and together with the zones, not as many, but still the results are very good. Now for the IPS display, and you can clearly see it's more or less what I see with my own eyes. Definitely not black, just mid-range gray. So it's a huge difference when you see it like that. Huge difference between this IPS versus the Fast-HVA with local dimming set to maximum. It's not even close. All right, so I'm going to share my thoughts. Overall, I'm very pleased with the results. If you remember my test with the Xiaomi, one of the things that I really didn't like when there are lots of zones is that you get the blooming around those small areas are very noticeable. It kind of looks like something like added visual effect, like there's a glow around them that just feels and looks odd when you have something similar like that. The good news is that in many games, for example, in UI it can be very annoying, but in some UI situations, but in games, most of the time you won't have something like that, like you see here. So it's going to be less visible and you're going to benefit from it more, where things will look darker in general because there are more zones to actually reflect the difference between the light areas and the dark areas. However, as I mentioned, some situation like a cursor on the screen, for example, can lead to something like that if you're playing a first-person shooter or something like that. The question I ask myself, how dark is enough for me to feel satisfied without me needing to change something if I'm doing something productive or I'm gaming, or if there are some situations where I find something that can be very annoying. If this is enough for me compared to, for example, the Xiaomi, let's say that it worked well without the reddish tint and everything, what I actually would prefer. To be honest, I really don't find myself wanting to invest more, and what actually this provides me as a kind of very consistent and for general use, both for gaming and doing productivity, is actually great. Because by default, the VA panel allows me to get high contrast and dark image. And it's further enhanced by the zones, although there are not a lot of them. Only 180 zones. The only reason I see that it works better if there are many more zones. For example, the Xiaomi had close to 1100. I think if you have more and you don't have this blooming issue, maybe you have twice more zones, I think that's where it's going to be better. Something in the middle can create some really weird things. It might work for some situations, from others not, and then you need to change. If you're working with Windows, you need to change. With the TCL, I don't need to change anything. I just work with it with all the zones active, and I don't have any issues. I also thought about, all right, what about the response rate, right? I put on fast, by the way, not on fastest. I play Battlefield, and if you're playing competitive, you probably want to go with IPS. But again, for competitive Battlefield, from a non-competitive player, I'm not playing like CSGO or something like that, or Valorant. From time to time, yeah. I still was able, because of the larger screen, the more detailed, and even to do better compared to my performance with the IPS. So even for Battlefield, it's not like such a huge issue for me. I don't think it's an issue at all, because again, I played with the IPS and I played on this and actually did really good on the other screen. There's nothing like, all right, wow, man, I can get those kills. What happened? This screen just really ruined my performance in the game. Nothing close to it. There's no difference for me, basically. And I tried. But in terms of immersion, it's way better. As you can see, there's no doubt about it. And the IPS can produce blacks. It just has kind of a mid-gray, and that's it. If you want to have blacks with the IPS, you need to turn the screen off. I mean, there are some black stabilizers that you can do, but it kind of, once you activate it, you can get pretty relatively deep compared to that. But I never liked the results. I mean, you can do it, but it was never really great because, again, just kind of ruined the image, and some areas are too dark. I don't know. I couldn't find really good balance to have something like that, and I always just went back to the default. So again, it's all about how deep I want my blacks to say, all right, that it's worth for me to upgrade to something else. The only two options that I think about is either having a screen that have much higher zones, that I won't suffer from these blooming issues and it'll be more accurate, that it will be well worth it, not something in the middle. I don't think it's worth the investment. Or I'm going to go with, of course, with an OLED, and basically that's it. So for those on a budget who are thinking about, all right, let's get something with good blacks, I think this is a very good screen. Don't need to mess around with anything. The results are overall very good, very immersive image, a huge difference compared to IPS. Thanks for watching.